Today, we're in the second week of our small group training series at Pursue God, and that means we're going to talk about the three phases of a Pursue God small group. Our small groups have a purpose and a process. So if you're going to lead a small group with the Pursue God tools, you're not just wandering aimlessly into the future. You're moving with intention through three different phases. But first, this. If you're going to make disciples in small groups, which is the goal if you're using Pursue God, you'd better get the product straight. Full circle followers of Jesus are marked by these three things. Maybe you've seen this image before. We're trying to be followers of Jesus who trust Jesus, who honor God, and who make disciples. So, small group leaders, one of your jobs as the shepherd of the people in your group is to help them become a full circle follower of Jesus, to trust Jesus for salvation if they haven't done that before, to honor God in their daily lifestyle and choices, and eventually, hopefully, to start making disciples, because this is what Jesus wants. Now, we get this picture from Matthew 18, where Jesus gives the Great Commission. Go make disciples, baptize them, and teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I've given you. When Jesus says baptizing them, what's the implication? They're not believers, right? So disciple making isn't just about making smart Christians smarter. It's also about helping people who are far from God to become followers of Jesus. In other words, the first part of disciple making in many cases is evangelism, because when you lead someone to faith, you baptize them. But Jesus also said to teach these new disciples to obey. That's the second part of the circle. We want to teach people in our small group to honor God with their daily lifestyle choices. In other words, you shouldn't just talk about theology in your small group. You shouldn't just talk about faith in your small group. You should also talk about obedience in marriage and parenting, with your finances, with your emotions, with your relationships. Small group leaders, your job is to help the people in your small group to honor God in their daily life. So make sure to choose topics that help them to obey what Jesus said. That's the second arrow in the picture. And the third arrow is found right here. Jesus said, go make disciples. This commandment wasn't just for his early followers. This is something Jesus still wants for all of us. He wants us to become disciple makers. So this is the product that we're working for in our small groups. We want to help people trust Jesus, we want to help them honor God, and eventually we want to help them make disciples. And you do that through three phases. The phases of a Pursue God small group are the same as the phases in one-on-one disciple making. So if you've never seen those before, let me show you the picture that we have to describe that. Phase number one in your small group is when you engage people. Pick topics and series that are of interest to the people who are coming to your small group. Maybe for the first several weeks or even months of your small group, you engage them with the content that is interesting to them. But at some point, you want to establish the people in your small group in the faith, and we recommend doing that by using our 12-week discipleship track called The Pursuit. You can find it right in the top menu of PursueGOD.org. And the third phase then is to empower those people in your small group to go make disciples, and that's when you finish the pursuit. In fact, the training is built right into the pursuit. Those last three topics are training topics. Now, you can go through these three phases together in your small group, take your entire group through the pursuit, or you can do this outside of small group time, in one-on-one relationships with the people who are ready to get established in the faith. Everyone in the small group is not always at the same place of readiness at the same time. Now, we'll talk a little bit more about that next week, but for now, let's finish with this idea. Healthy small groups produce disciple makers. Unhealthy small groups produce consumer Christians. Great small group leaders drive toward disciple making. That means you're driving toward producing full circle followers of Jesus in your small group. Jesus himself told his disciples, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit, for apart from me, you can do nothing. And he said, when you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples, and this brings great glory to my Father. So, small group leaders, work toward making true disciples in your small groups. Don't be content with people coming and doing a Bible study that doesn't change their lives or that doesn't create disciple makers out of them. You can do so much more with your small group, and we'll talk about that in lesson 3 of our series.